Oasis Audio presents Rebel by R.J. Anderson. Read for you by Eva Kaminsky. Prologue. The Queen is dying. The knowledge sat in Linden's belly like a cold stone as she hunched over the tub of greasy water, scrubbing her 39th plate. She'd promised Mallow, the chief cook, that she'd wash all the Oakenfolk's dishes in exchange for a second piece of honey cake at dinner, and at the time it had seemed a reasonable bargain. But now that she knew what was happening at the top of the spiral stair, that the fairy queen was lying pale and weak upon her bed, and might never rise from it again, she wanted to heave up all the cake she'd eaten and throw the last few dishes straight back in Chief Cook's face. How could Mallow look so smug after bringing them such terrible news? The moment she'd spoken those words, the whole kitchen had gone silent. Gatherers and cooks and scullions all staring in horrified disbelief. Yet the corners of Mallow's fat mouth were curled up in obvious self-satisfaction, as though the important thing wasn't Queen Amaryllis's fate, only that she'd been the first of them to find out about it. Still, Linden didn't dare to question Mallow, or beg her for more details. Unless, of course, she was prepared to bargain for the information. The other fairies in the kitchen must have thought the same, for they'd already gone back to work. Downcast faces and trembling hands their only signs of emotion. But Linden could imagine the anxious thoughts running through their minds, because the same fears chilled her own. How much longer can the Queen live? Who will rule the Oak now? And most of all, oh, great Gardener, what will become of us when she's gone? Linden bowed her head over the tub until her long brown curls almost brushed the water. She squeezed her eyes shut and her lips together, trying not to weep. To be brave, like her foster mother Knife had taught her. But oh, she wished that Knife could be with her now. "Don't forget these," said Mallow's voice from behind her, and a silver tray clattered onto the counter by Linden's side. "Not that she's eaten much, so be sure to scrape them first." In Mallow's language, scrape them really meant save all the good bits for me. Linden looked at the almost untouched food. A plate of delicately carved roast finch with mashed roots and chestnut dressing, and felt sick all over again. If the Queen couldn't even muster the will to eat, how would she find the strength to do magic? If the spells that protected the Oak weren't renewed on a daily basis, they would start to weaken. And then it wouldn't take long for disease, insects, and a host of hungry predators to start gnawing their way inside. "Someone else can wash the Queen's dishes, Mallow," said a calm voice from the doorway. "Her Majesty wishes me to bring Linden to her at once." Linden looked up, her tears draining into the backs of her eyes, as she recognized the tall, grave-looking fairy who had spoken. "Me, Valerian? Why?" But Mallow spoke up before Valerian could answer. "Linden made me a bargain, Healer. You can wait." Someone gasped, but quickly turned it into a cough as Mallow swung round. "Stop gawping and get back to work," she barked, then returned her glare to Linden. "Well?" Anger surged through Linden, and she clenched her soap-slick hands. It was one thing for Mallow to bully her own kitchen workers, or a temporary servant like Linden herself, but to be rude to Valerian, worse, to deny a request from their own dying queen, it was intolerable. Yet what could she do about it? At 15, Linden was by far the youngest fairy in the Oak, and one of the smallest besides. She had no magic, no influence, not even a proper occupation yet. It was ridiculous to think she could stand up to someone like Mallow. Linden swallowed, nodded, and began removing the uneaten food from the Queen's plate. "No," said Valerian, walking over. She took the plate from Linden, gently but firmly, and set it aside.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?